ride while Wakudoki ECS Motor Racing.
Ladies and gentlemen, it is a privilege for me to welcome you today to the launch of the second edition of Dun & Bradstreet's publication, India 2020, The Economy Outlook. In India 2020, we have made an attempt to evaluate the growth of the Indian economy in the current decade based on its strengths and weaknesses. The report elaborates on the prospects of some Indian states that would make significant contributions to the country's incremental growth during this period. It also identifies certain key parameters that will drive the growth of our economy over the current years. Moreover, an attempt is made to chart out some of the major policy initiatives that will facilitate and create an environment conducive to India's economic journey till the year 2020. Today, no one can deny that as compared to 2 decades ago, India's financial markets have become more mature, diverse and deep, and have the resilience to absorb shocks. Our regulatory systems and our crisis response mechanisms are more robust and sophisticated, and our pockets, our foreign exchange reserves, are much larger. Consumerism has recorded an unprecedented increase, fueled by rising income levels, double-income families, the young demographic of our population, and the easy availability of finance. It is perhaps telling, ladies and gentlemen, that an economy that grew at the Hindu rate of growth of 3.5% per annum during 1952 to 1980 is today bemoaning a growth rate of 6.5%. And there has been a furor every day in the fall of growth from the 9% levels that we have seen in the past few years. These high expectations that we have from ourselves are wonderful byproducts of our economic growth. Critical reforms in areas such as labor, infrastructure, agriculture, education and health have been slow-moving for a considerable period of time. Inadequate infrastructure, fiscal unsustainability and downturn in the investment climate have been the economy's central concern in recent days. However, even in this environment of pessimism, DNB believes that India has a strong potential to emerge out of the current slowdown successfully. In India 2020, we say that we expect that the phase of the subdued growth that the Indian economy is currently witnessing will continue till financial year 2015 before economic growth moves to the next orbit. The government's greatest priority in combating this environment of pessimism should be to boost the investment activity and set up a conducive policy environment with consistent application of laws and regulations. We have scored some self-goals in this area and we should be careful not to do so again in the future. Lastly, ladies and gentlemen, I would like to conclude by saying that even in an environment of declining optimism, change is possible. And we can and we must bring it about. It is an old joke that if you laid all the economists in the world end to end, they would still not reach a conclusion. However, today we are in the rare situation where most economists have agreed on the one thing: the urgent need for reforms to stimulate inclusive growth. Not just growth, but inclusive growth. We need to complete the second generation of reforms, ladies and gentlemen. Liberalizing sectors such as retail, education, revamping our supply chain infrastructure, enabling the enacting the labor reform laws necessary to create large-scale employment in the industrial sector. This alone will give us the fiscal headroom to promote social schemes that drive inclusive growth. I thank you for sparing your precious time to be with us this evening, and I do hope that you find this publication to be a valuable addition to your library. Thank you.
Good evening to all of you. It's a great pleasure for Indian Oats Bank to be part of this The second edition of the report is being released. It is necessary that the forecast and outlooks have to be periodically updated and reanalyzed based on the emerging information and situation, which Dun & Bradstreet will always do. Now, the report has identified the following growth areas. One is expanding service sector, strengthening of the manufacturing sector, rising proportion of the working age population. So what we have to see that what led to the enhanced growth of Indian economy from the 1991 and recent days on up to 11th finance planning, an average growth of 8%. So that is because of the, all will know that the economic reforms, the service sector has grown substantially domestically and internationally, and it has occupied a substantial portion of the GDP. And the manufacturing sector has also started improving its share. However, the agriculture sector has been on the decline. And the foreign investment, which has come in a large numbers, particularly even in this context, the FDI has been very large. I think $45 million has come. Only there is a volatility in the foreign institutional investment, which always goes by the global volatility as well as the their safety and what is that, the return which they will get. And we have to live with the volatility of the foreign institutional investment. And the infrastructure investment, which has gone a big way. And currently again, this year, this 12th plan also talks about that likely. And there the lot of private investment, the government investment, and the private investment has in this infrastructure around has come in a big way. I feel the 2020 looks very bright, and we are all definitely wherever there is a energy and there is a energized environment, and all of us are vibrant, and if we play very responsible and collectively work unison with the and give a good support to the government initiatives, and there will be definitely possible that we can give a fitting reply to the world that India means business, and India will be in the growth driver, and India will ensure that the world recovery also takes place with the help of India's growth. Thank you.
सुनो, जरा देखो तो। क्या हुआ?
कुछ नहीं, वो चोर है।
ओह।
मुसीबत चाहे कभी भी आए, डरना कैसा? गोदरेज के हाईटेक होम सेफ्स।
Wouldn't you like it if your bank account were like a supermarket, giving you everything? Internet banking, free ATM use at any bank, mobile banking, demat accounts, personal accident insurance, multi-city checks, SMS alerts, online payments, and much more. Besides a healthy interest, bank with Indian Overseas Bank. Enjoy the supermarket experience.
A very good evening to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. It's time now for a panel discussion, and it's India 2020, overcoming emerging challenges and achieving a high growth path. Let me start by introducing the panel in no particular order. Let me start by welcoming Dr. Shubhashish Gangopadhyay, who is Research Director at India Development Fund. We have Dr. K.S.R.V.S. Chalam, who is Economic Advisor, Department of Expenditure, Ministry of Finance, Government of India. We have Dr. Chetan Khatil, who's Chair Professor of Macroeconomics at ICR, and we have Mr. D.K. Agarwal, who's Chairman and Managing Director at SMC Investments and Advisors and Chairman and Managing Director of SMC Comtrade. Gentlemen, welcome to this panel discussion. I think the first question really, and that's what we all want to know, is that yes, we can see the prospects of growth looming large. There are a lot of challenges that have come up in the recent past. Really, how do we overcome those? And on a positive note, really, what is the way forward for us to be confident that we can achieve this? Let me start with you, Chetan, your opening remarks.
Well, thank you very much for inviting me to speak here today. Now, what's going to happen in 2020? In all honesty, nobody knows, right? The one thing that is going for India compared to other countries, at least vis-a-vis one other country which we like to compare ourselves to, which is China, is that our dependency ratios are going down, right? That translates roughly into 8% increase in capital stock growth. But capital stock is just one fraction, right? You have to adjust for a number called the share of output paid to capital. You basically take a third of that number. So a third of about 8.5% is roughly, let's say, 3%. You have 2.5% productivity growth. That's 5.5%. Okay. Now the labor force participation or the labor force attainment, educational adjusted labor force participation growth rates are roughly of the order of 1.5%. That gives you 7%. 7% is something that we should be able to attain given the structure, given the fundamental underlying structure of the Indian economy. But then there are a whole host of issues that could jeopardize that, a whole source of bad policies that we could enact that could jeopardize our investment story on the education front. The story of Indian education is, just summarize it very briefly, is that education enrollment has gone up. There's near primary, in terms of primary school enrollment, it's near universal enrollment, but educational attainments is roughly flat. Okay, so if you think that that's going to affect productivity, then that's going to affect that number. So different variables or different policy initiatives are going to feed into one of the three, and that's going to jeopardize India's long-run growth story. But 7% is something that a rough back-of-the-envelope calculation suggests is something that we should have.
Interesting, and you know, that 7% looks like it's easy on paper, but when you actually talk to people in the industry, they say that even that 7% is something that at this point of time looks like we have to fight for, but it's not unachievable. You can do it. So which way are we going to go? That's the big question. And Dr. Gangopadhyay, I want to pose that to you. Where do you see us headed now? 7% is a number that should be plausible. It should be something that we should achieve. We are looking at maybe a year or two of a little bit of slowdown, but if you're looking at the big picture, what does it look like?
If we certainly look at the economy now, I doubt it, right? But if we look at the history of India, I'm sure we'll be able to do that. Why? Because Indians, for whatever reason, simply because we don't follow any model, we're extremely resourceful. You know, if you really look at, we are the only developing economy which has never had a crisis. The crisis we had was 1991, which most developing economies will laugh at us if we say that it was a major crisis. But for us, it was. Right? So we have some things going for us which is very, 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 very good. And a large part of it is because we do not depend on the government, is because we don't follow rules. Right? All of that gives rise to a lot of resourcefulness. And sooner or later, and this is not a joke, right? I'm not trying to be flippant over here. What it essentially therefore does is it allows experimentations to take place. Before 1991, nobody thought that licensing is going to go away. And it just went off in one day. So I'm pretty sure that since our demographics, you know, people are looking at the young age demographics, right? The one thing they're not looking at is that they're vastly different from what we were when we were young. Not just in size, but in quality, right? We never spoke up against our elders. They do. They're not offensive, but they do question us. And they're impatient. They have a much, you know, better view of the world in terms of the information that they get. We should now step back and let them take over. And that will happen, I'm pretty sure.
Okay, so let's take a look at the fiscal side of things. Is the government going to be in a position to spend? Is the government going to be in a position to attract FDIs? And how is this picture going to pan out? Is it going to alleviate? Is it going to aggravate? Which way do we go from here, Dr. Challa?
Let me talk on the subsidy side. The fertilizer subsidy and the food subsidy on the consumer side